Welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 969-KTRS.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, cloudy, wanting to rain again.
Please, God, no.
Downtown Clayton, Missouri. Actually, we moved to downtown Olivet, Missouri. 5 minutes down the road.
Can't believe you flubbed that up.
I said that for 15 plus years, so
right.
Excuse that. I'm a 40-plus year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And as you can tell, I'm joined in studio by my very favorite, oldest, prodigal daughter, Aaron Lapidus, who also is a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager.
We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one that they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do during retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to supplement their medical coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Good morning, babe.
Good morning.
I'm jacked up.
Ready to go.
I'm ready for a fun show this morning. We're going to have a lot of fun. And what makes our show really fun,
all of you.
That's right, is by giving us a call. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877. Star 5877 for your cell phones, or 84126 from the Aaron monitored and controlled text line. And before we start on our show, we do want to remind everybody that all of our clients, they're folks like you. They're our listeners. They're over 55. They'd like to retire, or they're already retired. And as Aaron mentioned, we create a game plan for them with the goals of having a fun, financially secure, and hopefully more fun retirement.
That's right.
And before we get into our content, let's tell...
Well, there are quite a few ways that you can stay in touch with us during the week. You can log on to our website, www.jblfinancial.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click the Contact Us button and send us a comment, a question, a request for a coaching session, and we will make every effort to get back to you within 24 to 48 hours.
We love them.
We do. Also, in the lower left-hand side of the screen, a pop-up box will appear that says sign up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner. You can also scroll to the middle of the page and click sign up in the Coach's Corner newsletter section, and we will send that out to you every single month. We also keep all of our newsletters archived on the website for your reading pleasure,
as well as printing or downloading convenience,
if you'd prefer. And you can follow us on Facebook, JBL Financial, or on Twitter, JBL Financial, and we like to post articles not just about financial planning, about issues in retirement, but also fun things that you can do in retirement in the St. Louis metro area, things going on.
Fun
facts and tips, all there for you.
We do appreciate that. And again, we want to thank all of our listeners, all of our clients. Same thing, all of our listeners.
That's right.
For tuning in this morning. We have a few things to talk about. And as I always like to say, we have a lot of important things on our mind. What's more important is what's on yours. Give us a call, 314-931-5877, star 5877 for your cell phones, or 84126 from the text line. You know, we could talk about the markets. We're getting towards the end of October, but let's not talk about it. It's been too much fun to watch.
It's been so great to watch.
Yeah. People looked at their statements in December. Oh, my God! It actually went down for the first time in like 3 years. Well, I shouldn't say that. A year and a half.
Like a 5 to 8% decline potentially.
And then, woohoo!
Right. Now we've had a nice sustained rally over the last several weeks.
Which I think really answers the question. Is this the right time to invest? And the answer is yes.
It's always the right time.
It's always the right time to be invested. Whether you're watching things go up or watching things go down and buying things and watching them go back up.
Right.
They do go both ways, but what's nice is that we have the freest, the fairest, the most productive economy on the planet. And that's why you want to stay invested in the good old USA, as well as being diversified with other stuff as well.
Right, making sure that your risk tolerances match all the important things about investing.
And, you know, the best part when the market goes up?
What's that?
We look really smart. I love that.
Well, there's been a lot of, interesting news report, aside from incredible earnings being reported by many, a vast majority of the S&P 500 companies. There's been some really interesting economic data released over the last week. We saw unemployment numbers are down. We saw consumer spending and confidence is up, even though consumer confidence in inflation is also up to a 13-year high in terms of people's anticipation of inflated prices, but that's not stopping people from buying what they want.
I understand, honey, but I don't want to interrupt you here. But
you do.
Yes, I do. But what's more exciting is
what's more exciting?
Our government is confused. They are confused.
I don't know how exciting that is. You just really want the calls to come rolling in.
No, we don't. We love when the government is confused. We have gridlock. And when we have gridlock, that means the markets continue to roll.
Right, because markets are future looking, and if they cannot anticipate what changes are going to create changes for the economy, then we usually see
reminds
some
me of
selling.
David Bowie's song. I'm not going to sing it for you.
Ugh, if only.
You're welcome. Well, good. Again, while we're waiting for your calls at 314-931-5877, star 5877 your cell phones, or 84126 from that text line.
Mm-hmm.
Did we get text?
We did get a text. It was a great one. A really great text.
Get out of town. Let's kick off the show, baby.
Is there a way to move funds from an employer 401k to another vehicle without paying all of the taxes? So, unfortunately, we don't have quite a bit enough information in order to...
Well, the answer is...
Yes and no.
Well, it's yes, in that there are only two vehicles that you can move it to without paying taxes.
Another employer-sponsored plan if you found new employment and also the plan accepts the funds. Also,
yes, we call that a trustee-to-trustee transfer.
Also, the texter mentioned a 401k. You have to know the rules of movement if you've gone to another employer that has a different type of retirement plan. Not all of them can be accepted immediately, like a simple IRA versus a 401k.
You're so technical. How'd you get so smart?
That's cute.
No, I think that's great. I mean, no, it's great. And you're right. So there's any clear-cut answers, but there is one, and then, which is a 401k, which is truly an IRA, a traditional IRA waiting to happen, right?
Right. So the second option is, well, actually there are three, right? Because if you are over 55 years old and still employed, meaning you're an active participant, you can do what's called an in-service distribution to an IRA. It still needs to be an individual retirement account, meaning you're going from pre-tax, which is your 401k, to another pre-tax vehicle, which is an IRA, an individually directed account. You can do another trustee-to-trustee transfer, asking your 401k to move money.
That's the smart way to do it.
From your 401k directly to this account that you've set up elsewhere. But if you are employed under 55, an active participant, generally you cannot make in-service distributions to another account, meaning if the texter happens to be under 50 and still employed, then the answer would be no. There's not a way for you to move money tax-free. You have to be either have severed employment or over 55.
Yeah. So, again, when you use the word vehicle, I'm assuming we're talking about some other type of a retirement account.
Right.
Obviously, if you take it to a Roth, you got to pay taxes. Or if you take it to your own pocket, you got to pay taxes.
Or,
so
right. Or if you take it to an individual account.
I think this is a great text because...
Lots of questions. Lots of answers.
Nice part is we're awake. We got the juices flowing, right? We love that. Which, while we're waiting for your calls, let's go to our first topic today. And this was an email from Julie.
Okay.
Getting a lot of Julies today. We love that.
Okay.
My husband and I would like to retire at the end of this year. Woohoo! We love people who want to retire.
Yeah, he works for a very large
beverage company
that
was taken over by a European conglomerate.
Right, that no longer is headquartered here, unfortunately.
Exactly. That has horses. They're called Clydesdales, okay? And, well, we're not supposed to say the name.
No, we're not.
Compliance doesn't like that. And I'm a teacher.
Ah.
Love teachers. We've been listening to your show for many years now, and we found it to be very helpful. Well, thank you, Julie. But we'd like to get some questions answered before we make our decision, especially about investing our money, healthcare, and other financial issues. We've planned for some time to call your office to arrange for a coaching session.
Man, they've been planning a phone call.
How does it work? Is it really free? What do I need to bring? And will you be there?
Who's you?
Me, because they know you've taken over the world.
The world? The world.
Well, especially all our new folks. Get to see Aaron first.
Yes, you do.
So how does it work? Well, a few simple steps. First thing?
Call, email, or phone us. Oh, well, if calling would be phoning us. Call or email us. You can even send a text to our office line now, if you'd like.
314-863-0008.
That text would be in reference to talking to us off the air, not if you have a text question right now.
And once our staff has contacted you, they'll arrange a time. They'll also send you a list of documents we'd like you to bring to the meeting, which are mandatory.
And really, these documents are just to help us get a snapshot of your financial life. So they would include things like your 401k or other retirement plan sponsored by your employer. Statements, any other outside accounts that you might hold. If you have life insurance, long-term care insurance,
will
trusts.
And trust documents, exactly.
All those kind of things that...
pensions, all this. Anything
related to... We've
got a list. It's not that long.
Nope. And if you don't happen to have those items, you don't have to produce them for us. We just would like you to bring what you have.
That's
and also, if you happen to have something that
Mm-hmm.
isn't on the list you'd like us to chat with you about, you're also more than welcome to do that.
Which is very cool.
Yep.
And we will send you a map to our office.
Mm-hmm.
And what's nice is that, unlike when we were in Clayton, where we had reserved parking, now we have our own private parking lot.
Which means we let you double park if you like. You have a big truck or something.
Big spaces, which
That's
is
right.
just wonderful. When you come in, you'll be cheerfully greeted by Kelly and offered a beverage. And my staff will ask if you're prepared with the documents.
Which we usually have not had any issues with.
Right, because we need it. So when you go to the doctor's office, he says take off your clothes. You got to do it. Otherwise,
It's essentially what we're trying to do is make all of our time as value. Maintain the value of all of our time. Meaning, we want to be able to talk about your specific situation, your specific numbers. We do also, as investment advisor representatives, want to take a look at how you actually are invested. So it's great if you have pre-prepared spreadsheets that have dollar amounts associated with them. We love looking at that, but we also do need to see the documentation to support it, not because we don't trust you in the dollars, but because part of our responsibility is to talk about how you're invested, how we would have you invested if there would be changes, and what our game plan is really going to be contingent on some of the products and financial instruments that you already have.
So you've called or emailed us. Our staff has contacted you. We've asked you. We've sent out a list of documents. You got a time. You're coming in. You got a free parking space, best coffee and all of that in the world.
In the world.
And the first thing that we're going to do after we invite you to sit down is to tell us a little about yourselves and how you hope we can help you. That's what we ask everybody to start.
Because really, these meetings are about you.
Totally
It's about your retirement, your plans, your game plan.
Right. And we've got this beautiful electronic.
And it's way bigger than it used to be.
Right.
We have updated technologies.
Right, exactly. So we've got a 4x8 whiteboard.
It's like 6x10. It's humongous.
Big whiteboard. And what we do is we play This Is Your Life. So we're going to draw it all out for you.
Mm-hmm.
Your game plan for retirement, which is fun and obviously answer any other question you may have about healthcare.
Social Security,
about taking your pension,
about a lump sum option if you happen to have one, what the benefits and drawbacks are between those options for your specific situation, dealing with debt if you happen to have it.
And then obviously we're going to also review all the stuff that you have. The most important thing to remember is you're going to have fun. Because we have fun. We get to play and have fun with your life. And the nice part is we're helping most of our clients plan for maybe the most fun, exciting, relaxing, enjoyable part of their life, which is retirement. And we promise also that our first session usually runs anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes.
Usually if you're with me, it's 60.
Yeah, well,
we like to get down to business.
I tell a lot of stories. A lot of Aaron stories.
Fair enough. But, there is one other important thing that we would make mention of is usually there is a little bit of homework involved for you before you come in to see us. Aside from collecting your documents, and truly, I've heard from more than one individual that we've met with, which is even the exercise of putting this all together has been very helpful for them because a lot of people, things are scattered over time. You collect different 401ks from different employers. You collect different financial instruments over time, life insurance, annuities, things like that. And being able to consolidate them all into one spot to have a conversation about them can usually provide a lot of clarity for you. But, in our financial questionnaire, we have some questions that you might need to think about, which is how much are you spending every month?
Absolutely. And just again, as a reminder, we promise that you will leave with more clarity than you had when you came in. We're going to answer all your questions. We're going to give you we're going to create that game plan for you for a fun and carefree and worry-free retirement. And we'll leave you with a lot of good things to think about. Maybe a little homework to do to take back with you, like confirming your spending. That's a big thing, confirming your spending, making sure we have information on all the sources that you have. Mm-hmm. And then you come back, and it's a lot of fun. But the whole thing is it's fun for us, and it's fun for you, and we promise that
you'll have some more clarity.
You will have more clarity than you've ever had. In most cases, you're also going to get confirmation on your thinking, which is great.
We have another great text question that I haven't even finished reading yet, so we're going to read it together.
Woo-hoo.
As of this month, we are officially mortgage-free with 10 years to go until retirement. That is clapping if it doesn't sound like it over the radio because we don't have an actual audio.
Rock stars in the making.
That's pretty cool. We are thinking about dedicating the money previously used for the mortgage and building an account for dividend income. So now they're going to take, we'll put the investment piece to the side for a moment and just say that now we obviously have some planners on our hands because now they're going to rededicate an expense and create savings with it as opposed to just continuing to consume it in a different way.
We love that.
As a general question, are we correct in assuming that dividend stocks are generally lower growing but more stable compared to diversified mutual funds normally found in employer plans, which we are currently maxing out? So they already even know all the questions that we might ask. So they're both maxing. I'm assuming it's both because they say we are maxing out their retirement plans at work. And now the general question is, just to summarize, dividend-paying stocks, lower growth, obviously, but are they considered more stable?
No.
Right.
No. I mean, they're truly not. And most of those stocks at this point, we're talking about energy companies, banks, right?
Right, financial institutions, energy companies.
Are they really more stable? The answer is no.
Right. I mean, look at what the energy companies have even done over the last 6 months.
Right.
I mean, this is to the upside, but you could also remember when they were paying people to store oil. So
and it's interesting because I would have some questions for these folks. Number one is, if you're looking at creating a strategy where you're really going to create
income
for the future, why would you want to pay taxes if you don't need the money today?
Right. So when you purchase dividend-paying stocks, even inside of you're going to be doing this after tax because you've maxed out your retirement plans. You put them into a joint account and you purchase a variety, whatever you choose, of dividend-paying stocks.
Or a mutual fund that
or
does
mutual funds that pay dividends. You are going, if you reinvest them or not. So if you take them to cash or if you reinvest them, you're going to get a 1099 at the end of the year that reflects your dividends and interest, depending upon what you've selected in your account, and you're going to pay taxes on it. So I think where you're leading is, wouldn't it be a more prudent strategy potentially to invest in growth, because most likely those are less likely to pay dividends and interest.
Sure.
You'll be growing your asset value, meaning that you'll be able to draw off of a larger amount over time potentially.
And the other thing is, you could, if you decide later, you could convert those.
Right. You can convert portions of them.
And I think this is an interesting debate, because we have found, and statistics have shown, that growth has whooped value.
Especially over the last 10 years.
Right.
We saw a very brief flip of value to growth before COVID for about 3 months, and then we flipped the other way, and as most people have watched on TV, the tech side of things, which tends to be growth, has just dominated not only this rally, but the last 2 years.
5 years.
I'm just specifically talking about since the last flip. So we don't, we usually saw rotation that lasted longer. That doesn't seem to be the case at the moment.
And again, this is all matter of opinion, but philosophically, what we have been doing is we have been investing for growth.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're rebalancing our portfolios, we're skimming that growth
to create the income that the individuals who are taking it are using.
And or cash needs, whatever they might be. So one way is to do it by buying dividend-paying stocks. The other one is maybe by growth, or maybe using a combination.
But also there are a couple of pieces with the dividend-paying stocks, which is, well, I guess they kind of correlate, though, which can be negative on both sides, which is as the stock value rises, usually potentially you can see a higher dividend. But when the stock value declines, or if a business doesn't have a particularly good year, you can see your dividends cut. Or if we remember 2020, almost all of the S&P suspended dividends. So you could be in a position where now your account value is lower, but also you're being paid out a lower amount in dividends, meaning that there's a risk to your income on both sides, growth and on the dividend side.
Yeah. Again, and I would say to these folks, love your thought process.
Planners at heart, clearly.
Love that. They should go visit their current planners if they have one.
Right.
And really talk about, where does this investing piece fit into their total game plan?
Right. How are we going to be using this now and down the road?
Right. And frankly, is this the best source of doing this? So thank you for the text question. That
was a great text question.
And we love those, and we can't even invent good ones like that. So
can't even invent
Thank you so much for that one.
Well, you know what? It seems like the email from Tom is a really good follow-up to our text question.
Right. And Tom emailed me. Somehow got through.
Again.
His fingers again. It was cool.
How are so many people emailing you? Have you been saving these
Team Jeff
for time?
Team Jeff.
How long have you been saving these emails?
Team Jeff. They're years old, but doesn't matter. I have a question about where to invest excess cash today. My wife and I, and like you have excess cash, sure, buddy, have created our vault.
Amazon reported less revenue, so maybe that's what's happened.
Right. My wife and I have created our vault, as you and Aaron have suggested, and have 6 months of cash in reserve. Good thinking. But we also have a significant amount of cash, other cash assets that we want to invest, but not in the market today.
Not today. Well, it's Saturday. Can't do it today.
Sorry, Tom, can't help you. The interest rates on CDs and money market accounts are pitiful.
To say the least.
We call those certificates of depression. Getting less 1%. Question, my question to you, Tom, would be, how soon will you be needing these cash assets for either income or capital consumption?
So have you dedicated any of these assets to anything yet?
Right.
Are they because we don't want to put long-term needs at short-term risk.
Thank you, babe. Very good. If you want a high rate of interest on your savings, how long are you willing to commit your money?
And also, how much of
and
it
that
do
really
you
kind of goes back to, is there really a secondary need for this money?
Correct. Also, the amount is going to make a difference too, because especially the texter or the emailer talked about CDs. You know, if the larger amount of if you cross a certain threshold, you might be able to get a higher rate of interest.
Absolutely. And then the tax question: is it important that you don't pay taxes on the interest that you might earn on these funds?
Right. Are you near a bracket potentially, and this could push you over? You don't want to be paying.
So these are some things that we really need to ask and know as planners to give some prudent advice to Tom about his excess cash. And, there are options that are available out there that don't include being involved in purchasing either mutual funds or individual securities, right?
Right. So you don't necessarily have to be involved in equities.
Now, we're not necessarily recommending any of these, but just to identify them. You could look at taxable bond funds.
Right, which
not
is
very exciting.
Right, they're going to give you a basket of different bonds as opposed to purchasing individual bonds.
And what's interesting is that you may want to, if you want, you can become very sector oriented if you want. As an example, you could buy Build America bonds, or you could buy TIPS.
They even
something that we're looking at for our clients now are TIPS, right? Treasury inflation protected.
Interesting.
securities.
I was reading they even have what are called green bonds now, which are, it's not necessarily environmental, but it is investing, socially conscious investing, which is these companies that you've purchased the bonds through are dedicating some of that revenue to some type of social enhancement, be it environmental or economic or social.
Oh, that's kind of cool. That's something we certainly want to talk about later in detail. The other thing that you might consider looking at are high-yield bonds, because these are bonds that have lower credit ratings, but their returns are more correlated to the market. So if you believe the market's continuing to run, even if you want to be directly invested, then having high-yield bonds might be something worth considering as a part of a diversified bond portfolio.
Just like in equities, the more risk that you are willing to take, potentially the higher return that you might be able to achieve.
Sure. And one of the things that we're taking a look at, since we're talking about non-qualified money, are tax-free bonds. These are basically federal income tax-free.
Right, because if you select a municipal bond in the state in which you live, you get to avoid the tax
in the state too.
Exactly.
Wee-hee.
Which is nice.
And certainly there are other hybrids, like what we call balance funds, which have equity income, like dividend-paying stocks, as well as bonds. And then certainly you can always look at fixed-rate annuities, which unfortunately today aren't paying a whole lot of money, and you are locking those dollars up for usually a stated period of time.
Right. And
liquidity is obviously an issue with these, because if you take out more than 10%, you could have a surrender charge.
Right, which is the same as breaking a CD, but can be significantly more expensive to you.
Yeah.
I think that, and also there are, other mutual funds that these would put you, you can look at bond-oriented mutual funds, balanced mutual funds like you were talking about, or there are some mutual funds that focus on dividend-paying or dividend-oriented equities, so you might consider that too.
Yeah, and what I would suggest, and this kind of refers back to our previous texter, who I'm sure is probably still listening to the show. God knows they'd want to.
What else would you do? It's rainy out.
It's all fun. Is that we're really taking a mixed approach for our excess cash flow clients. Part of it goes into muni bonds, part of it's going into growth. That's what we're doing right now. So we're not really using dividend-paying stuff, but we do use growth because we like growth now.
Right.
We may change our mind, but
right.
Got to see the rotation occur, right?
Exactly.
Which is kind of cool.
Don't fight the momentum.
So, Tom, we hope that is helpful to you, as well as other folks that are listening, right?
I feel like we're on a roll with these questions.
Which is wonderful. And so let's remind folks that our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877. Star. Hi, Karen. A star. 5877 or 84126 from the Heating Up text line. We
Got some great texts this morning already.
We
got some great texts this morning already,
which is wonderful. We really do appreciate that. Let's go to our friend Joe. Joe's a client of ours. He also happened to be a listener, which we love, and we thank you, Joe. And he wrote me earlier this week, good morning. In the example you discussed last week on the radio, you talked about managing required minimum distributions. And again, these are distributions that the IRS requires you to take from traditional IRA plans or 401ks.
After 72.
After the age of 72. And not getting hit with huge
tax burdens that the percentages as you
I
get
love
into
that
the
word.
70s.
Huge tax burdens that right.
So
Joe,
First of all, let's talk about kind of like the amortization schedule of the percentage, which is
good.
At 72, you're sub 4%. It's like 3.8 something, correct? In that range.
Yes.
So you have to get into your 90s before it gets to 10%.
Let's make it real. Let's say that you have $1 million.
It's about $40,000.
That's right.
Now, when you get into your 90s, I think it gets up close to 10%.
Right.
But you have to be in your 90s before. So the percentage goes from 3.8 up to 10 over a almost 30-year period.
Yeah. So huge is only huge if you're not taking any money.
And the interesting thing is that the 4-ish% of the required minimum distribution at 72 is usually very in line with what most individuals are going to need from their retirement accounts in order to make their lives work, or what we suggest is a prudent amount from their retirement accounts to make their lives work, which is right at 4%. So usually what we see is individuals right when they get to 72, they're not going to be taking any more or any less at this point from their retirement accounts. Usually we have to go several years down the road before we have to start making up that difference.
Yeah, and Aaron, it's true because I would say that we don't even have 2 hands full
of our over 500 clients
that actually are taking more, that we have to give them,
families.
That we have to give them extra money to cover the required minimum distribution for what they're taking today as an income flow source.
Right, and like we chatted about last week with the individuals that didn't need any of the required minimum distributions, there are ways that we can help mitigate those additional taxes when you get there. So, for example, just like Joe mentioned, we fictitiously make up Joe's got $1 million. He's going to need to take $40,000 the first year. Well, when we get into his 80s, if he's up to $45,000, $46,000, and he doesn't have a use for that additional $6,000 in terms of making his own finances work, he might consider making charitable contributions directly from his IRA to offset. You're still going to have to take the money out of the account, but we can offset the taxes by sending direct contributions to charity, potentially.
Yeah, and with most of our clients, our question is, do you go to church? Are there other charities that you happen to give money to during the year already? And they're going, yeah. Not a lot, but a little bit. So we say, okay, make a list. And we then let them know, as we letting Joe know in this reply to the email, is that if we send it from their IRA directly, we can reduce the RMD dollar for dollar.
And you don't pay taxes on that piece of the distribution. So we say Joe has to take $46,000. He sends $6,000 to charity. He still pays taxes on $40,000. The $6,000 is out of his account, but he doesn't have to pay taxes on it.
Life is good.
Right. So there are things that we can do, but in most cases we find that people are consuming their required minimum distribution. It doesn't become punitive.
Well, it's beautiful because the tax code, thousands of pages, okay?
Thousands.
It's a rule book.
Right.
It's truthfully a playbook. How can you legally avoid taxes? Just not to understand, play by the rules. If you play by the rules, Uncle Sam is very fair, and you can do things that for most of our clients, what we're in there talking about is doing things that they're already doing, but in a more tax-effective way.
Right, we're just changing the mechanism.
And it looks like we've got Kim on line 1. Kim, thank you so much for calling.
Hello. How are you today?
We are great because you called. You have a pension plan question?
I have a pension one. I am retired. I'm not drawing Social Security. I turned 65 in July. I worked for a company that had a pension and a 401k. We're not talking about a lot of money in the pension, but I have the option now of drawing that pension or taking it lump sum rollover, and I know I can roll it over into their 401k that I'm still involved in, but I wondered if there was any tax liability involved doing that.
The answer is simply no.
As long as you roll it directly from the pension plan to your 401k, which they would probably facilitate as the employer.
And Kim, what I would say to you is that you have an opportunity here, and hopefully you're working with somebody, you're working with a planner. If you're not, it's okay. But you really have to figure out whether this is a good deal. And I would say simply, are you married?
No.
Okay, great. So what happens is oh, by the way, that was no personal comment about great or not great. Okay. I mean, I'm happy.
I was quietly wondering that over here.
Well, you know your mom's listening, so I wasn't trying to hint on anything here, Kim.
I'm not married. I have no children, so all I have to worry about is me.
Okay, well, if you have a pile of money, we'll talk after the show. No.
Wow.
I'm in trouble. I am.
You just don't even want to go home. It's totally fine.
Okay, I'll let you drive, honey. Okay. So there's a formula. What I would do is I would take a look at what they're offering you you'll be looking at the single life payout. Okay? And that's always the first one. I would take that number per month and I would multiply that by 12.
It's going to give you the annual amount that they would be paying out.
I would then divide that
I've done that.
And
yes.
I would divide that into the lump sum. Now, if that number is less than 7%, you should roll over your plan. You should roll over that into your 401k.
And you're only saying that with all of the other information that Kim has provided us, that she doesn't have a spouse and no direct beneficiaries in terms of children. So
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So if it's under 7%, you definitely want to roll it. But if it's over 7%,
you might want to consider.
Then truthfully, it's a good deal, and you ought to say you're on the hook. I'm just going to take the pension benefit.
Yeah. Okay.
But when you make that election, what will happen is they'll do a direct transfer from the pension trustee to the 401k trustee, and there's no taxation to you.
They would mail me a check under the name of.
Right, and that's still considered a direct transfer because unfortunately you and no one else on this planet can personally cash it except for your 401k company into your account. So although you're kind of touching the money since you have the check in hand, you really can't do anything with it, so that's still considered a direct rollover. You just want to get it, you want to mail it off to the 401k company as soon as you get it.
Or more than likely, then she probably has a form that she's going to hand to her plan administrator.
Right.
That they'll take it in, they'll take the safeguarding of the fund. So either way, what I would suggest is make sure that the benefit payout is
less than 7% before you
move it. Exactly. That would be our advice for the day.
Okay. I was just most concerned about the tax obligations, but it's a very minimum amount.
Well, it's 0 for you because if you're going to move it, then you move it. So that's
perfect.
Perfect. But thanks so much for your call today. We appreciate it, and we hope you have a great weekend.
That's right.
Right? Not too good because I'll get in trouble with you.
We have oh my goodness, enough of that. We have another text question.
Beautiful.
Back on topic. If you have money in your emergency account and it is only paying 1%, who's getting 1%?
I'd love to. Let's name that bank.
Would you suggest placing it in another vehicle which returns are a little better but is still readily accessible? I'm wondering what type of vehicle that would be.
Well, I have to tell you, my answer would be no.
Right. You always want to, there is an opportunity cost to not earning something on every single penny that you have. However, there's also a risk, which is any other vehicle that you're going to put this money in that will give you a higher return is either going to lock it up, meaning you're going to have a surrender fee to get it out, or you're going to break a CD and have a penalty. Or
you can't get it that day.
You can't get it that day. Also, anything else is going to have a risk involved with it. Even if you purchased bond funds or something along those lines, you could see market loss in that. And when you have to make the sale, you're going to have less money than you started with. So you do probably want to keep, we always suggest 6 to 12 months depending upon your comfort level. Seems like you might be at the 6-month mark of expenses. We definitely suggest you keep those in liquid cash.
Yeah, the vault should always be liquid. You should be able to write a check or go to the bank and pull the money out that day.
Right.
Period. There's no reason to not to do that. Anything other than that?
And it really is the basis of the beginning of your investing. So
Yes.
why would you knock out the foundation? You could call it that. It's the foundation of your investing, having liquid assets available to you for emergencies. Why would you knock the foundation out after you already built the house?
Very nice analogy.
You know what? I just made that up on the fly. Feeling pretty good about it.
You're so bright. That's why I called you daughter. What can I say?
It's cute.
That's a very good one, though. No, I mean, and, it's interesting because if, in fact, money market accounts, savings accounts, we're paying 3 to 4%,
most people,
we would never hear from anybody.
Right, because you would be getting that.
Because you're like, woohoo, I'm getting
Look
3
at
to
all this
4%.
cash.
And then you'd be depressed because you weren't getting 5 or 6%. We're humans. We're greedy.
Sure.
We want more.
Absolutely.
But-
Also, it is a little rough to see
Yeah.
you've got X amount in your savings account and it's earning less than 1%. It's annoying.
We've kind of talked about this different layers of a vault. Like we were talking about this concept of 6 months or whatever makes you feel good. I mean, we've talked about if you wake up in the middle of the night, you go to your computer, you look and see what your account balance is.
Right. It could potentially not even correlate. It might just be you feel comfortable with X amount of dollars, but as a jumping off point, we like to start with 6 to 12 months of your expenses.
And again, that's money that you just want to be safe. Right. Truly safe, and it should be in a commercial bank or savings loan, local one.
Right, and also you should have that amount reflective of the FDIC insurance that you have available.
But then you can have layer 2, which is savings that you have, which are going to be there for
relatively immediate consumption,
less than a year, right? Consumption, and those monies shouldn't be invested either. You don't want to put those assets at risk because you will need the money. If you know that you're going to buy a car 6 months from now, you're crazy to put that in the market. What if you lose money?
Right, then what if you
not
lose?
Prudent.
Right.
Not
what
prudent.
if 6 months from now the market took a dip and you're down 8% or something? Are you going to buy a less expensive car? Or are you going to put that off? Most people don't in their working lives make those decisions based on what the market is doing because they have continuous cash flow. Right. So the prudent thing to do would be in retirement, ensure that you have that continuous cash flow available to you, meaning having that set aside. So that way, when you do make the decision to do things, you have the cash available to you. I mean, we've had plenty of clients over the last year decide that they wanted to do home renovations and things like that. Well, even in March when the market took a dip, although people called and said, hey, we're worried, because everyone was, we talked about how we had already created already made the cash available for the plans that they had for the year. So they're living off the gains. You could be living off your savings as opposed to having to make those decisions about what the market's doing.
It's interesting, and if you really quantify this, and let's use a big number. Let's use $100,000.
Of savings?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's say that's excess.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, well, if I am leaving it at 0.1%, what if I could get 1% or 2%? I have to lock it up for 1 or 2 years. What are we talking about? Say $1,000, and then you're paying tax on that, maybe $700-800. I mean, who cares? Seriously, it doesn't make sense to lose the liquidity, lose the ability to access that money. Why aggravate your life?
This is the same idea as when people talk about structuring their income not to pay taxes on Social Security.
Right.
It only lasts so long for most people because for the majority of individuals that are able to retire and have the capacity to structure their income, you've got the majority of your assets in retirement accounts. You spent your entire working career putting money into them. Most of the time, even if you created some excess savings, even in excess of $100,000+, that's still going to be most likely smaller than your retirement accounts. Yeah. So sure, you could drain out your after-tax account and not pay taxes on your Social Security potentially. But what have you done? You've just limited your liquidity down the road because now you have only taxable income.
Yeah, and when you get to it, which is so crazy.
Right, most people are in the 10% bracket.
Yeah, you're literally in the 10. If you're earning less than $90,000 a year, married, filing jointly, you're in a 10% effective rate. So,
and also now I've heard a collective scoff from the listeners, which is like, we're working, we earn way more than $90,000 potentially, or we're over that now. In retirement, taxes are going to be more.
And
You're thinking about your gross.
right,
Think about your net.
right. No FICA.
And then,
No
right.
withholding.
No savings.
No
You just
401k
don't
savings.
spend in retirement. That's how you save.
That's right. It's what you bring home. It's not what you make.
Right.
That's the key. That really is the key. And, you don't read this in the literature. But the
It makes
truth
all
is,
the difference.
our planning paradigm is trying to fund to 100% of our clients' current after-tax spending. That's it.
Right.
Your life is your life.
Right. Most
Let's
of the
fund
time, it
to your
doesn't.
life.
Right. Doesn't change for the better or the worse, regardless of what you've decided what better or worse is. Usually, most people just stay the same.
You're right. And, that always brings up the question.
I think that brings up the Medicare questions.
Yeah, what have we been ducking Medicare for? Nobody's calling. Open enrollment season.
Because you didn't mention the fact
The
that it's
number
the
one-
greatest time of year.
Number one Medicare producer in the state of Missouri, sitting to my right.
We're without Frank again today. Just got to carry the water a little longer.
Well, I know, babe, but you're an expert, so it's good.
It's tiring, but I'll do it.
Well, there are a lot of questions that folks have about open enrollment.
Yes, there are.
And I think the biggest one is, if I'm enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan today,
Mm-hmm.
and I like my plan,
Mm-hmm.
do I have to do anything? Should I do anything? Should I make changes?
If you're currently happy with your policy, if you have received your renewal book and you notice that the benefits aren't all that different, if you haven't changed, meaning you haven't added physicians, you haven't added any prescriptions that aren't on the policy, my general recommendation is, why change?
If it ain't broke, don't
Right.
fix it.
Sure, there are other benefits. There are other Medicare Advantage plans out there. You're seeing them constantly advertised on TV. But the fact of the matter is, the way that Medicare Advantage the way that all supplements to Medicare work is Medicare Part A and B cover 80% of your medical expenses. So no matter what supplement you select, either supplement, a Medigap policy, or a Medicare Advantage plan, you're only covering the last 20% of what Medicare does not cover for you. You're either covering it by premium in advance with a supplement or with co-pays and cost sharing with a Medicare Advantage plan. That means that these policies at the base, the most important part of the policy, meaning the medical benefits and your prescription benefits, cannot be that different from one another. There's only so much room that the insurance companies have to manipulate the benefits because they still have to stay within all the rules and regulations of Medicare. So focus on your health and the actual medical and prescription benefits before you move on to all of the exciting bells and whistles that all of these companies are trying to entice you with. Because yes, we talked extensively about some of the extra benefits that Aetna offers last week, but again, those are extra benefits. You want to make sure that the policy that you've selected fits you on the medical side, meaning your prescriptions match and your physicians fit. You don't want to fight a policy because fighting it is just going to be expensive for you.
Okay, well,
You said, okay.
it's good to know. I know. I mean, it's good to know. I mean, if it isn't broke, you don't need to fix it.
No.
Now, there are situations that could occur that you may, and as you said, it's really prescription changes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Physician
frankly,
changes.
physician changes.
Also, potentially health changes. If you've been diagnosed with something that is going to be chronic and we can potentially find a policy that will have slightly better benefits or different benefits that you might want to access now, that might be a time to take a look at what your options are.
One other question that I've been sitting inside of coaching sessions, and you haven't kicked me out yet on the Medicare stuff.
It's cute again.
It's true.
I'm really just feeling so sad for you lately.
I often hear,
Often.
do I have to have the same health care plan, whether it's a Medicare Advantage or Medicare supplement, as my spouse? And are there any advantages in having the same plan?
So the great thing about Medicare is now everything has been individualized. That means your Medicare benefits are yours alone. You're not tied to your spouse any longer. And maybe that sounds obnoxious to some people because now we have different health insurance, but really that means you get to tailor it to yourself. there are plenty of situations. Most people don't have the identical health. So there are plenty of situations where spouses will choose the same plan for ease or convenience, but then there are many other situations where it makes so much sense for one spouse to elect one type of policy and for the other spouse to elect another, or to simply choose different Medicare Advantage plans or different supplements. The only advantage to choosing the same thing is many of the supplement companies will offer you a household discount of up to about 5% off the premium for each of you. However, if you feel that the Medicare Advantage plan fits one of you better, the 5% is not worth it.
Well, it's interesting, honey, because when you talk about supplements versus the Advantage plans, I know on TV, all they're talking about is Medicare Advantage plans, which are the advantages or benefits that are offered that are non-medical benefits generally.
Sure.
That are offered by the Advantage plans that don't happen with the supplements, right?
Correct. And I just find that, it's funny to me about that just because I just spent all this time saying that you need to look at the medical benefits first. If you went and visited any individual like myself that represents all the Medicare Advantage plans that you could purchase in Missouri or Illinois,
as well as the subs,
as well as the supplements. Well, on the Medicare Advantage plan, we're not allowed to. We're not supposed to, even barred from discussing the extra benefits until you've made your decision. That's how important it is to choose your plan based on your medical needs, not based on the extra dental that they're going to offer you. So it's funny to me that that's how the commercials are all geared towards these extra benefits.
Which are, give us, and they're really four.
Right. There's dental, there's vision, there's hearing, and then every single policy offers a version of Silver Sneakers. Silver Sneakers is generally for every company except for United Healthcare. They've branded their own as usual. They call it Renew Active. So you're going to get the gym membership on almost any situation. Dental is going to be variable. And now the benefits are variable there too, because you want to consider the fact some policies make you use a network. Some policies have no network. Cigna has no maximum, but you do have to use a network. So there are a lot of different nuances to these policies that obviously can't be discussed in the 10-second radio or TV commercial that you're watching. One of the other interesting benefits that was super popularized last year was this Medicare Part B give back, where even if you are over a certain income threshold, it doesn't matter what your income is, the plan will pay you back a portion of your Medicare Part B premium. 1 million people call about it last year, a bunch of people calling about it this year. When have any of us ever known an insurance company to give away something for free? Like, you're going to pay for this benefit one way or the other, which is they're going to pay you back some money every single month. Your maximum out of pocket is higher. All of your copays are higher on those particular policies.
So you're taking a plan that has worse benefits or lower benefits to get your $117 a month back. I think that's what Joe Willie said.
Right, less lucrative benefits inside of the policy, both on your maximum out of pocket and then what I like to call the usage benefits, which is copays to the primary or the specialist, when you need labs, x-rays, that kind of thing, to just get money back. Now, for some people that feel like, hey, I'm in excellent health, I see the doctor twice a year, maybe I want to try this out for a year. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I just don't think that it's as shiny and exciting as people are kind of, as the radio or TV leads you to believe.
Well, it's never that good.
Right.
It can't be that good. But,
no free lunches.
No. But if you're aging into Medicare,
yes,
you have a Medicare Advantage plan, not happy with it, have a Medicare supplement, you think you might be happy with Medicare Advantage plan,
please, you have until December 7th.
Give us a call. We'd love to see you. 314-863-0008. Again, 314-863-0008. And you'll get to see fabulous, fascinating, fun-filled Frank.
That's right.
Who does a very, very good job on the Medicare supplement side.
He does an excellent job on our Medicare coaching sessions.
Yeah, which is wonderful. And again, that part of our
He's getting booked
show,
up.
It is getting booked up, and I don't know how many helped last week. 20?
He's got at least 6 appointments a day,
which is fabulous. So we love to help. We love to help you because you're our listeners, and we'll help you by seeing you next week.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the Retirement Coach. We'll be back next week at 10 a.m. here on the Big 550 KTRS.